that was broken first on Times Now. This is about justice for Vignesh. This is the Chennai Custodial murder investigation. Vignesh did not have prior injuries. Police defense dissected to pieces. Post-mortem report accessed by Times Now.
There are at least 13 injuries that have been listed in the post-mortem report that has now been accessed by Times Now, Pranesh, and this blows the lid off the defense that the police and the state government were trying to mount. They claim that this was nothing to do with custodial torture. He, in fact, had these injuries prior to even his arrest, even though there was CCTV footage where we could see him being chased down and beaten by cops. And now there is a post-mortem report which only puts the Tamil Nadu police and the government further in the dock. Shilpa is with me for more on this. And Shilpa, you've accessed the details of this post-mortem report. Do take our viewers through it.
Well, yes, Poonam. In fact, Times Now was the first channel to report the details of this post-mortem report. At least 3-4 days back, Times Now reported that Vignesh had over 10 injuries on his body, and that is what the post-mortem report is also saying. We've accessed the copies of the post-mortem report, and in which they've listed out 13 external injuries that Vignesh suffered. In fact, there were several contusions all over his body. There was abrasions on his gluteal region, and there was a fracture of his right tibial bone, and the color of his injuries were black. So the post-mortem report has given a list of the injuries that were seen on Vignesh's body, and this of course demolishes the police theory that he was not a victim of police brutality, because we have managed to get the key eyewitness account also, the auto driver Prabhu, who ferried Vignesh on that fateful night, who said that cops beat him up for several hours. And even though blood came out of his mouth, he was not taken to a hospital. And on 19th April, Vignesh passed away while he was in the custody of the Chennai police. Even today, what is most shocking and what is most disappointing is to see the way in which the Tamil Nadu government has reacted to this entire issue. Yes, they have transferred the case to the CBCID, but despite these evidences, only 3 cops have been suspended, not a case against them. None of them have been arrested in this case. And that, of course, is the major concerning point as far as this case is concerned.
Our colleague now joining us on the big screen with the post-mortem report that you've accessed. Priya, break it down.
Right. Pranesh, while this detailed autopsy report tells us about multiple injuries, there are a lot of technical terms over here which tell us about how there were at least 11 to 13 contusions. There were severe injuries to Vignesh. Obviously, they had to be severe because they led to his death. But what is most important, without getting into the technicalities of medical legalese over here, it says all these injuries were sustained 12 to 24 hours prior to autopsy. Why this is significant is because since the day we broke this story, the police has been hiding behind the defense that we did nothing, we just captured a criminal for interrogation. He had injuries before we had captured him. He tried to run away. We tried to catch him again. He died of injuries that he had before the police had arrested him. But if the post-mortem report here that we have access says that all these injuries, the 13 contusions that were sustained by Vignesh, were 12 to 24 hours prior to autopsy, it blows to smithereens the cover that is being presented by the police, alleging that they had nothing to do with Vignesh's death. It was the injuries that were inflicted by the police of DMK government, reporting to DMK government in Chennai, that led to Vignesh's death.
Coming in from the BJP, Poonam, Narayan Tirupati now joining us. Mr. Tirupati, the post-mortem report of Vignesh has been accessed by Times Now. The police had dismissed the version of the eyewitness. Will they deny this too?
How can they deny this? If they are going to deny this, they will again say that there was no one called Vignesh was there in Chennai. That is what they have to say. See, it's now very open, and I think the proper action should be taken on the officials, and I think the DGP has to take responsibility. It has happened in Chennai itself, and during Tathangulam issue, the custodial deaths, what all Mr. Stalin had said, I think he has to rewind it and he has to see what all he said. So I think he has to act according to his speech. That is what I demand from Mr. Stalin now.
Why do you think the Stalin government is not acting against the killers of Vignesh?
No, why means they feel that their government's name will get bad, and when they were in opposition, they were saying something, and they are in ruling, they are not able to, implement what they have said. It is double standard.
Mr. Tirupati, a Hindi ritual is blocked by Tamil Nadu government. That is human rights violation. What is this? The post-mortem report lays bare the facts.
Yeah, definitely. That is why we asked for a CBI inquiry, but they are opposing to it. They have given a CBCD inquiry, for which also we say no, because the same state police is going to see a better inquiry will be better, better investigation will be better. So that is why we have asked for a CBI inquiry, which Tamil Nadu government is refusing.
All right, thanks for joining us, Shilpa. What are you hearing from the police on this?
Pranesh, as far as the police investigation is concerned, today the CBCID officials, of course, interrogated Prabhu, the key eyewitness in the case. He was the auto rickshaw driver who ferried Vignesh and his friend Suresh on that fateful night. So today they examined him. But what is most important is also how the National SCST Commission members had also come down to Chennai to inquire into this incident. And they have also made some stunning allegations saying that the police tried to suppress the information that Vignesh belonged to the SC community. The commission members also suggested that a detailed inquiry, a detailed report will be submitted by the commission in the next couple of days. They've also questioned the role of the police. In fact, they say that the government should send out a message that they stand for justice, and police will try to protect, protect each other. That is their nature. But the government should send out a firm message that they stand by justice. And in this case, unfortunately, that has not happened, because so many days have passed since Vignesh's death, because he passed away on April 19th. Even today, there is not a single FIR against any of these cops. There is not an arrest that has been made. Only 3 cops have been suspended. And even the National SCST Commission members say, why is it that the SHO, the station head, is still working? Why has he not been suspended? This has happened in his station. So why is it that the government has not suspended him, is also the question that the National SCST Commission has raised today. So several of these questions with mounting evidences to show that Vignesh was in fact a victim of police brutality.
Absolutely.
But the DMK
not just
government
the
is
allegations of brutality in custody that the police were facing. The family of Vignesh had also come out and said that there was a cover-up attempt that was at play, and they were offered money by the police officers to shut up and not take this forward.
Well, absolutely, Poonam. In fact, that is the most callous part of it all. 1 lakh rupee they thought was the value of a human life, because the family members, they were given rupees 1 lakh indirectly through an ex-employer of Vignesh to hush up this entire matter. And the family members, of course, then approached the court, saying that we do not want this money, we only want justice for our brother. That were the words that brothers of Vignesh told Times Now. In fact, even after that, there were attempts to reach out to the family by the cops. Brothers of Vignesh told us that they were offered another 10 lakh rupees so that they keep quiet and they do not escalate this entire issue. So that goes on to show that how there was an attempt by the Chennai police to cover up this entire matter. The CCTV footage also emerged, which showed how Vignesh was being chased by the cops and he falls down.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Dr. Dinesh Rao, a forensic expert, now joins us on this broadcast. Dr. Rao, there have been several claims that have been made as far as Vignesh's injuries and his death was concerned. The police there kept saying that these injuries had nothing to do with what happened in the 12 hours that he was in custody. They were all from before. But now the post-mortem report details the 13 injuries that were fresh bruises. So now, is there any defense that the police or the state government can hold?
Yeah, see, what we observe is, there are these contusions, the contusions which has been clearly described, very clearly reflect that it is possibly, definitely not due to a fall, and it cannot be accidental. There are non-accidental injuries, means it very clearly indicates it possibly it has happened at the time of custody, or maybe the thing. The only thing is the time of what you call detain, and that based on that only it can be inferred. But definitely it is not due to fall, and they are not accidental.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rao, for breaking it down for us. Shilpa, before we come back to you, this is what the SC/ST panel that is looking into the case said about the Chennai police investigation.
अभी इन लोगों के सीआईडी जजमेंट लगाया, अगर सीआईडी जजमेंट में कोई भी त्रुटि हमारा कमीशन में आएगा तो दिस केस विल बी ट्रांसफर्ड टू द सीबीआई। अभी इनका देखना चाहिए, किसी को मौका देना चाहिए। राज्य सरकार को सीरियसली लिया है, पहले ज्यादा नहीं लिया, लेकिन बात कमीशन आने के बाद लिया है। मेरे को उनको भी समझाया, देखिए गवर्नमेंट के लिए आप लोग काम कर रहे हैं, अगर किसी गवर्नमेंट के लिए काम करे वो सास को मत छुपाइए, इसको जिसका न्याय दिलाना चाहिए गरीब परिवार, तो इसलिए आपको कार्रवाई कीजिए, हम लोग आपका साथ में कोऑपरेशन करेंगे, लेकिन हमको डाउट लगेगा तो अब सीबीआई इंक्वायरी भी हो सकता है।
What is most appalling in all of this, Poonam, and I want to go to Shilpa, is that the eyewitness has been questioned repeatedly and the cops who are accused of killing Vignesh have not been interrogated.
Well, that's right, Pranesh. In fact, till last Friday, the family members of Vignesh had approached the judicial magistrate who, of course, was overlooking the entire post-mortem process and who had taken the statements of key witnesses in this case. And the judicial magistrate was asking the family members, where is the CBCID? None of them have got in touch with me, is what the judicial magistrate said. So despite the case being transferred to the CBCID, it's been several days. The cops have only started probe very recently. It was only today that the cops have called in Prabhu, a key eyewitness in this case, for examining. But even today, there is no FIR that has been registered against these cops. No arrest has taken place. 3 officers have been suspended. That is it. Even the station head has not been suspended, and that is something that the National SC/ST panel members have also pointed out. And the SC/ST Prevention Act was not also invoked. Now that is also something that the SC/ST panel members have told the Chennai police, that since Vignesh belongs to an SC community, the SC/ST Act should also be invoked, and these cops, these erring cops, must be charged under those acts, those act as well. So despite all this evidence, the testimony of the key eyewitnesses, the testimony of the family members who said that the Chennai police tried to cover up, the CCTV footage that emerged, the post-mortem report, all of this, despite all of this coming to light, why is it that the CBCID has not arrested or not even registered an FIR in this case?
Right.
That, of course, is the big question.
13 injury marks called out in this post-mortem report. Will the Stalin government order arrest of the 3 cops accused of killing Vignesh? That remains the big question. We are taking a short break. Lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay with us.